Do you feel responsible for everyone's happiness? Do you replay other people's problems long after the conversation is over? You might think you're just being caring, but there may be a reason you feel so emotionally drained, and it has less to do with what's happening in your life than with what you've been carrying for everyone else. Hello, and welcome back to the universe, friends. If you've been feeling emotionally tired, weighed down, or like you're carrying more than you can handle, this video is for you. Today, we're talking about why you may be carrying everyone else's problems, and more importantly, how to stop. This isn't about becoming uncaring or walking away from the people you love. It's about learning the difference between caring for someone and carrying responsibility for their life. So let's walk through this because once you see the difference, you'll understand why you've been feeling so emotionally exhausted. Let's talk about how you end up carrying everyone else's problems. You see, most people don't wake up one morning and decide to carry everyone else's problems. It usually happens little by little. Maybe you've always been the dependable one in your family, the person people call when something goes wrong, or maybe you're a good listener. People trust you because they know you'll take the time to understand what they're going through. You might be the peacemaker who tries to keep everyone getting along, or the helper who naturally steps in when someone is struggling. None of those qualities are bad. In fact, they're some of the qualities that make you a kind and compassionate person. But over time, something subtle can happen. Without realizing it, you stop simply caring about people and you start feeling responsible for their happiness, their decisions, or the outcome of their problems. You begin thinking about their situation long after the conversation is over. You worry about what they should do next. You try to figure out how to make things better for them. And before you know it, you're carrying an emotional weight that was never yours to carry. That's when caring quietly turns into carrying. Let's talk about the signs you're carrying too much. So, how do you know if you've crossed the line from caring to carrying? Here are a few signs. You keep thinking about someone else's problems long after the conversation is over. You're making dinner, driving to the store, or trying to fall asleep, and your mind keeps going back to what they're going through. You replay the conversation, wonder what you should have said, or think about what you can do to help. Another sign is that you feel anxious because someone else is making choices you know aren't good for them. Maybe you've given advice, but they keep making the same decisions. Even though you can't control what they do, their choices begin affecting your own peace of mind. So you may even lose sleep worrying about people you care about. Your body is trying to rest. Your mind is busy carrying concerns that don't belong to you. Another sign is feeling guilty when you take time for yourself. You finally sit down to relax, but instead of enjoying the moment, you're thinking, I should check on them, or maybe I should be doing more. Have you ever noticed that when someone tells you about a problem, your first instinct is to solve it? Before they've even finished talking, you're already searching for answers, making a plan, or trying to fix the situation. Sometimes people don't need us to solve their problems. They just need us to listen. And perhaps the biggest sign of all is this: someone else's stress becomes your stress. If they're overwhelmed, you feel overwhelmed. If they're upset, your mood changes too. If they're struggling, it's hard for you to enjoy your own day because part of you feels like you should be carrying that struggle with them. If several of these sound familiar, you're not alone. None of these mean you're weak, uncaring, or doing something wrong. They simply mean the line between caring about someone and feeling responsible for them has become blurred. And once that line becomes blurred, it's very easy to end up carrying far more than you were ever meant to carry. Now let's talk about why carrying everyone else's problems leaves you so overwhelmed. The reason this feels so exhausting is because your brain doesn't always separate your responsibilities from the responsibilities you've taken on for other people. Think about everything you're already managing: your own schedule, your own decisions, your own relationships, your own responsibilities, your own emotions. That's already a full plate. Now imagine adding someone else's worries. You worry about whether they're okay. You wonder if they're making the right choices. You think about how they're feeling. You try to figure out how you can help. Before long, your mind is carrying two lives instead of one. And that's a heavy load. I like to picture it this way. Imagine you're wearing a backpack. Inside are all the things that naturally belong to you. Like your responsibilities, your commitments, and the challenges you're already working through. Then someone hands you another backpack. Maybe it's a family member who's struggling. Maybe it's a friend going through a difficult season. Maybe it's someone who always seems to have a crisis. You don't want to let them down, so you put that backpack on too. Then another person needs you, so you carry theirs. Then someone else calls. Now you're carrying four backpacks instead of one. Eventually, the weight feels normal because you've been carrying it for so long. You forget what it feels like to walk without all that extra weight, and after a while, it's hard to remember which backpack actually belongs to you. That's often why you feel overwhelmed. It's not always because you're doing too much. Sometimes it's because you're carrying too much. And here's something important to remember: caring about someone doesn't require carrying what belongs to them. You can support someone, you can encourage them, you can listen, you can love them deeply, but you don't have to carry responsibilities that were never yours to begin with. Now let's talk about the difference between caring and carrying. Here's the difference. Caring means you want the best for someone. Carrying means you feel responsible for making everything better. Caring says, I hope things work out for you. Carrying says, it's my job to make sure they do. Caring says, I'm here to support you. And carrying says, I have to solve this for you. Caring says, I love you. But then carrying says, if you're not okay, I can't be okay either. That's a heavy way to live. The truth is, you can love someone deeply without carrying the weight of their choices, their emotions, or their responsibilities. You can care without carrying. And sometimes that's one of the kindest things you can do for them and for yourself. Now, let's talk about how to stop carrying everyone else's problems. So, how do you stop carrying everyone else's problems without feeling guilty? It starts with one simple pause. Before you immediately step in, ask yourself, is this mine to solve? Not every problem that comes into your life is your responsibility. Sometimes your role is simply to listen. Sometimes it's to encourage. And sometimes it's to let someone else figure things out for themselves. That brings me to the second tool. When you catch yourself thinking, I have to fix this, replace it with, I can care without carrying. Those few words can remind you that compassion doesn't require taking ownership of someone else's life. The third tool may be the hardest. Allow people to experience the consequences of their own choices. That doesn't mean you stop loving them. It doesn't mean you stop caring. It simply means you recognize that growth often happens when people work through their own challenges. If we constantly rescue people, we may unintentionally keep them from learning what they need to learn. Finally, remember that support and responsibility are not the same thing. You can say, I'm here for you. You can listen. You can encourage. You can even help when it's appropriate. But their choices, their emotions, and their life still belong to them. Your job isn't to carry their backpack. Your job is to walk beside them while they carry their own. And that's an important difference. Now, if carrying everyone else's problems leaves you reacting emotionally before you've had time to think, watch this. The next time you feel yourself taking on someone else's stress, pause and ask yourself one question. Is this mine? Just answer yes or no. You can care deeply about someone without taking responsibility for their life. And if this space helps you feel understood, you can stay here. Until next time, keep growing gently. Take care, friends. You've got this. And I'll see you back in the universe soon.